It began with a sound no one was supposed to hear. On a quiet Sunday evening in the small town of Ashgrove, the old St. Augustine Church stood silent against the wind. Its doors were locked, its candles long extinguished. But beneath the stone floors, deep inside the basement that had been sealed for decades, something was knocking. Not loud, not frantic, just steady, like a heartbeat trying to remember its rhythm. Father Thomas Weller had served this parish for 23 years. He'd seen storms tear roofs apart and faith-tested. But that night, when the janitor came to him, pale and trembling, saying he'd heard voices under the chapel floor, even Thomas felt the air change. The church, once a place of peace, suddenly felt alert. Thomas dismissed it as a trick of old pipes. But as he locked the doors for the night, a thought unsettled him. The basement had been sealed before his time. The town records said it was unsafe for storage, but no one alive remembered why. The next morning, Thomas asked about the basement at the town hall. The clerk, a gray-haired woman who'd been there all her life, hesitated. "Father," she said, her voice dropping, "some places stay sealed for a reason." When he pressed for details, she leaned in and whispered, "You're not the first priest to ask." That night, he found an old key in a rusted drawer behind the altar. A label dangled from it, "Lower Archive." It looked centuries old. He waited until midnight, when the streets were empty. As he descended the narrow stairwell, each step echoed like a whisper from another time. The smell of dust and damp stone filled the air. The basement door creaked open, and the lights flickered on, one by one. The room was larger than he expected, filled with forgotten records. But something felt wrong. In the far corner stood a wooden confessional, too ornate, too new for a basement that old. The door was slightly ajar. Inside, he saw a chair and a tape recorder. Thomas pressed play. Static filled the air. Then, a voice, calm, familiar. "Father Thomas Weller, you shouldn't have come back." He froze. The voice was his own. He replayed it, listening closer. The tone, the pauses, everything was identical. But the words continued. "You sealed it once. You promised to forget. But you can't hide what's buried under your own church." His pulse quickened. He shut off the recorder, convinced it was a prank. But who could mimic his voice so perfectly? The next day, he questioned the retired clergy who'd served before him. None wanted to speak. One finally said, "Whatever's in that basement, Father, it doesn't want to be remembered. Let it stay forgotten." That night, Thomas couldn't sleep. He dreamed of the confessional, but in his dream, someone was sitting inside. A shadow with his face, whispering the same line again and again. "You promised to forget." Unable to resist, he returned to the basement. This time he noticed a loose tile under the confessional. He pried it up. Beneath it was a sealed metal box. Inside lay dozens of cassette tapes, each labeled with a date. The earliest was 1974, the year the previous father had disappeared. He played the first tape. A trembling voice said, "The confessions won't stop. They say they're not alive, not dead. They're stuck here. They remember everything." His heart pounded. The next cassette was labeled Father Weller, 2003. His name, his first year at the church. But he'd never recorded anything that year. He pressed play, static. Then, his own voice again. "Every confession leaves an echo. Every secret becomes a shadow. We thought sealing the basement would silence them." He stumbled back, the flashlight beam shaking across the walls. Shadows seemed to move, not like people, but like memories replaying themselves. The next morning, he found a letter slipped under his office door. No name, no address, just 2 words. "Stop listening." He showed it to the church secretary. She stared at it quietly and said, "Father, my mother told me once that the last priest here kept hearing voices through the confessional, voices that sounded like his own." That evening he locked the church early. He had to know. He returned to the basement again, and this time when he pressed play, he heard not one, but many voices, overlapping, whispering his name. He leaned in, trying to understand, when one voice rose above the rest, clear, desperate. "Thomas, please, Set us free." He brought the tapes to the diocese office. The archivist frowned. "These are impossible," he said. "We digitized all confession records years ago, and these don't exist in any system." When Thomas asked who sealed the basement, the archivist hesitated. "You did," he said softly. "Back in 2003, don't you remember?" Thomas stared at him in disbelief, but the man showed him the record. His signature, his handwriting, dated 1 year before he was assigned there. Back at the church, Thomas searched his old journals. Between sermons and hospital visits, entire months were missing, pages torn out. And on one remaining page, written in his own hand, were 4 words: "Don't open the basement." He felt something deep within him crumble. What if he wasn't discovering the secret? What if he was remembering it? He returned that night, one last time. The air was heavy. He stood in the basement, facing the confessional. He turned on the recorder. This time, the voice spoke first. "You came back," he whispered. "Who are you?" "You are," the voice replied, "or what's left of you." Thomas's flashlight flickered, and for a split second, he saw a reflection in the glass of the confessional. His own face, but older, tired, staring back from the other side. The recorder clicked off. The basement light buzzed, dimming slowly, and then silence. The church staff found Father Thomas missing. A month later, a new priest arrived, Father Raymond Cole. One night, as he was locking up, he heard a faint knock beneath the floor. He followed it, descending the stairwell. The basement door opened easily, as if waiting. Inside, he saw a single tape recorder on the confessional chair. Curious, he pressed play. Static. Then, a calm voice, gentle and worn. "Father Cole, you shouldn't have come back." Weeks passed. Father Cole became quieter, distant. The janitor once asked if everything was all right. Father Cole just smiled faintly. "Do you ever wonder if a place remembers who walks through it?" That evening, he stood before the confessional again. He whispered into the dark, "What are you?" And from within, a voice answered softly, "A collection of what's been confessed." A few days later, workers came to restore the church basement. When they cleared the shelves, they found new cassette tapes, dated with recent days, each one labeled with a different priest's name, ending with the newest one, Father Cole. The church denied any paranormal claims, but one archivist privately admitted something strange. Each tape contained the same whispering voice, always ending with the same sentence, "We never left." Months later, a reporter arrived to write about Ashgrove's oldest church. He found the blueprints and noticed the basement wasn't supposed to exist. That night, he slipped inside. The church was empty. As he reached the basement stairs, his flashlight flickered, and there on the wall, someone had written in chalk, "Confession never ends." He turned to leave, but the door behind him shut on its own. The faint sound of a tape recorder clicked on. Static. Then a voice spoke softly, "Welcome back, Father Thomas." The reporter froze. "I'm not..." But the voice interrupted, gentle, knowing. "Everyone says that at first. Today, the church remains closed. Locals say at night you can still hear faint echoes through the walls, a mix of whispers, prayers, and one steady voice asking the same question over and over. Do you remember confessing? And sometimes, just before dawn, a light flickers in the basement window, a small red glow like a recording light blinking on again. Because some confessions never fade. They wait, they listen, and when the silence grows deep enough, they answer. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more mysteries that lie just beneath the surface.